What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tap In, presented by the Jared Barnes Show. Today, as you can guess, based on the video, we are not live. But that's all right, because I have a guest here with me today. It's my roommate currently at college, Nate Mendez.
Hey, what's going on, Jared?
Hey, welcome to the show, Nate. So today, Nate is you can see by his shirt, he is a Suns fan.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a little NBA. He's also a Cowboys fan. Little Cowboys as well.
Yeah. Not as proud of that as I should be right now, but still a proud Cowboys fan.
Yeah. All right. So, Nate, my first question for you is, who is your MVP for this NBA season?
Oh, that's honestly a hard question. I think the definition of the MVP has changed since Russell Westbrook's triple-double season. Whether, like, for instance, if this was back in 2010s, Devin Booker averaging 26, 5, and 5, that's an automatic MVP on the best team. But you have Nikola Jokic, who's doing some crazy things with the Denver Nuggets. You have Giannis. He's still Giannis, one of the most dominant players in the NBA. And Joel Embiid's leading the league in points. So I would love for Booker to win the MVP, but I find it hard to put him up on that echelon. Currently, my pick is Nikola Jokic to go back-to-back. Yeah. He's just doing some crazy things for the Denver Nuggets and carrying that team to a playoff spot.
Yeah, and that's my pick as well. And at this point, he has become the runaway favorite at most sports books. Mm-hmm. I know as of Friday, the odds for MVP, according to DraftKings, Nikola Jokic was minus 330, which means he is by far a runaway favorite. I think if anybody deserves it, Devin Booker should be more in the running than what he currently is.
Yeah, he's fourth right now. He should be in the top three.
And he's like plus 6,000 or something like that. Ooh. So he don't have much of a shot to win it.
No.
Embiid is deserving of one as well, but it's become a numbers award, and who's the favorite player in the league by the fans, and Twitter kind of runs the MVP thing now. It's a whole. The change of media has kind of shifted the MVP award. It's not taken as seriously as what I'd like it to be, because I don't feel like it's always given to necessarily the best player in the league or the best player on the best team. It's an interesting thing, but Booker is definitely deserving of an MVP, and nobody can say really otherwise, but it's definitely going to be Jokic's award for this season. Now, since you are a Suns fan, there's a couple you guys are the first seed, correct?
Yes, first seed by a mile.
What play-in teams in the West scare you?
Now, I'm not as scared of our first round play-in matchup. Mm-hmm. I believe the play-in is between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Clippers. Mm-hmm. I think the Clippers are going to win that game. They'll be the 7th seed. And all those other 3 teams I'm not scared about. But having said that, the Clippers are the team that scares me the most because they have Paul George back. They're fully healthy. They have some win-now pieces with Norman Powell and Robert Covington. And I think that, honestly, this is a hot take, but I believe that the Western Conference Finals is going to be the same as last year. The Clippers are going to run through the Grizzlies, whoever they meet in the second round, and they're going to meet with the Suns Conference Finals.
That is a little bit of a hot take. Personally, I think Grizzlies are in the play-in, correct?
Grizzlies are 2nd seed.
2nd seed? Oh, the Grizzlies are... Well, my bad. I don't know why I thought they were in the play-in. Interesting that I thought that, but that's what just... Wow. But yeah, there isn't really a team that I think the Suns should be scared of. I think they will run through probably 4 games, whoever they play from the play-in.
Oh, for sure.
But the team that they should be scared about the most in the West, I think, is the Grizzlies.
Grizzlies are a difficult team. They're built very similar to the Suns.
Yeah, and they're very young too. So they're kind of inexperienced, so they don't really know they don't really have anything to lose, because none of them have really ever really been there.
That's true.
Jaw's the leader of the team, they haven't really been there, so that they're going to the playoffs with just absolutely nothing to lose, and that's a team you have to fear. But I think the Suns, with their experience, with Chris Paul, with Devin Booker been playing the way he's been playing this season, I think the Suns will be fine, and I think they will get to the NBA Finals pretty easily. But now, switching gears here to the Eastern Conference, what team do you think comes out of the East this upcoming season.
Man, that race is jam packed. I think the top 4 teams were separated by like a win, maybe 2. Like the seeding was still happening last night. With the last slew of games, but Miami is really good. They're deep, and they're one of the most talented teams in the East. However, Jimmy Butler is your best player. It's hard to win with that. He is your highest star. Well, the Nets have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. The Bucks have Giannis
and Chris Middleton
and Drew Holiday. So I believe that the Heat can make it out of the East if they don't face either the Bucks or the Brooklyn Nets. If they face either of those teams, I'm probably gonna pick the Bucks. I think it's gonna be the same finals again, Bucks Suns, just because the Bucks are just so talented. They've been there before, and Giannis is just so unstoppable in the playoffs.
Yeah, you already know my pick, and it's kind of a hot take. I do genuinely believe that the Celtics will come out of the East. I'm dead wrong on it. I know I'm dead wrong on it, but I'm going to stick by it because it's the first year without Brad Stevens as head coach. I would like to see Jason Tatum finally kind of live up to the expectations that were put on him in his rookie season. Because, like, his rookie season, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They were not supposed to be that good because they didn't have Kyrie Irving. They didn't have Gordon Hayward, who also, what did he do, break his...
It was bad. It was bad on television.
Break his ankle. It was terrible to watch. And yet they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with a rookie Jason Tatum, a second-year player Jaylen Brown, like a very talented team, and they haven't really lived up to the expectations that have been set on them since. And I think this is the year that they finally do, and they make it to the finals. But if they do make it to the finals and they play the Suns, they will get run through. And that's as simple as that. So I would personally rather see the Nets or the Bucks make it in, but I don't think the Nets have the depth to do so. And I don't think the Heat would be able to compete against the Suns. Like, they're deep, but since their best player is Jimmy Butler, like, he's a great defensive leader, but he's not going to he's not going to be able to put the team on his back and score 40 if they need him to.
No.
And Giannis can do that. KD can do that. Kyrie can do that. Middleton can do that.
Yeah, some nights he's that hot.
Yeah. But there is a team in the NBA this season that, unlike the Celtics haven't lived up to expectations for a couple of years, but there is a team in the NBA, in the Western Conference, that their expectations were high. People were writing them into the finals, and they couldn't even make it into the play-in tournament, and that is the Lakers. And last night, they supposedly fired their head coach, Frank Vogel, who won them a championship. What is next for LeBron and the Lakers?
First of all, as a Phoenix fan, we love seeing the Lakers downfall. I mean, probably 30 years of us getting beat up by the Lakers. Like, it's good to see them finally fall, crumble, be back in the lottery again. But I think for the Lakers, that's a tough team to deconstruct. I think they have nine free agents coming into this offseason. Most of them are old guys, so you can't re-sign them for trade value. And you have Russell Westbrook, who probably is going to accept his $44 million player option. So you have 3 players.
So much, man.
I know that's
so much money.
That's a crazy contract. I think that's the most expensive contract. John Wall and Russell Westbrook are like the two. I don't know who's higher in that list.
I think Russ. I thought it was like 44, 47, but yeah, that's so much money.
That's a crazy amount of money. Russell Westbrook has no value at this current point. You could throw him with 2 picks and get a little bit of something, but then again, you're not going to get much. The only person that really has value, besides LeBron, who you can't trade him without his permission, is Anthony Davis. Even though he's injury prone, he still has the most value for that Lakers team, and he's probably the trade piece that you move going forward.
I agree on that. At this point, I think it'd be best for the Lakers to cut ties with everybody and restart, because this was LeBron's team, and the front office just has to openly acknowledge that they cannot let LeBron make decisions at this point anymore in his career. He's 37. He is the best player on your team, and the fact that he's 37 and is the best player shows the problem, because you have a 28-year-old Anthony Davis who can't even stay off the bench because he's too injured all the time.
Anthony Davis.
And he is the best trade piece. My personal favorite trade that you could do with AD is to ship him back home to Chicago.
Ooh.
Bring back home the kid in Lonzo Ball. Bring back everybody's favorite player in the NBA, Alex Caruso.
Yes.
And possibly even. I mean, you're not going to be able to get Vucevic. But if you can get Vucevic, that would be great. But if you can't get Vucevic, maybe take Kobe White.
Kobe White's a great piece too.
And then you get Lonzo, Kobe White, and Alex Caruso. That's a lot of guards, but like those are guys that can at least shoot a little.
Yeah.
That would help the separation problem that you had with the current Lakers team, where there was the floor spacing was atrocious to watch.
I think Malik Monk was one of the only guys that could really shoot outside. Other than that, it was atrocious.
Yeah, and he's not Malik Monk is not a solid enough shooter to be the one guy on the team that can actually shoot threes.
No,
so,
not at all.
Yes, it was a real problem with the Lakers this last season. I'm excited to see what they do. I don't think they'll cut ties and move on from LeBron, although I think at this point they should.
I think,
and that's a very hot take, that I think that I think the Lakers should cut ties and move on from LeBron. I've heard nobody else say it, and I'm going to continue to say it because I think it would just make sense and be the smart thing for them.
Yeah.
But the Suns had 3 years ago a 63-loss team.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next season they went on a run in the bubble.
Yeah.
Then the next year they're in the NBA Finals.
That was crazy.
And now this year they've won a team record for wins in a season.
I believe 64 is the final count.
Is the Suns' turnaround one of the greatest turnarounds of all time?
Honestly, it has to be up there. I think the old Suns team back with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire, that went from that was a crazy turnaround too. The Boston Celtics, when they got their big three, how they were a lottery team and they went all the way to the finals with that big three. But honestly, as a Suns fan, 3 years ago, you had no hope.
Yep.
Like if you told me today, 3 years from that day, that we would be the best team in the league and we were just coming off a finals run, no Suns fan would believe you.
No.
Like we were so atrociously bad. Like we stopped watching games at a certain point just because we got blown out by like 40 opening night and we just never recovered. So as a Suns fan, the next season you go on the bubble run.
Yeah.
Very next season you go to the finals. It's been a wild ride, and I would say it is the greatest turnaround of all time. Just by how much hope you generated within one season, within one bubble run, versus the year before where you won 19 games.
Yeah.
So I would say it's greatest.
Yeah. 3 years ago, Suns fans were probably at that point waiting for the trade for Devin Booker to happen because I would assume everybody thought they're going to go into rebuilding after losing like 63 games.
Yeah.
And the Suns kept him, and DeAndre Ayton came, and then Chris Paul showed up, and then things finally started to click. But I can see as a Suns fan how like 3 years ago there was no chance that I would have believed that the Suns would have been like finals favorite coming out of the West, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would be a crazy statement back then, just because you're like, how did we make a crazy trade? But we didn't. Chris Paul was a crazier trade, but it's not like he was one of the lead guys in the league.
No.
And so that's just some homegrown trust the process type stuff where you trust in your guys, you draft well, and you were able to successfully rebuild versus other teams.
And it worked, and that's the beauty of it, because you don't normally see stuff like that work, because I heard you say trust the process.
76.
The 76ers have tried it for a long time, and they had to go get pieces from the outside. They had to trade for Tobias Harris. They had to trade for James Harden. They had to get rid of Ben Simmons.
They had to trade for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, people forget that the process openly failed. But people still say trust the process, but really the process was in Phoenix the entire time, because they're the team that went with the homegrown roster and just added one piece, and then it was enough to flip the script and turn their entire organization and franchise around.
Yeah.
But shifting gears from the NBA, you're a Cowboys fan.
Yes, sir.
And this last season, the Cowboys lost in a disappointing playoff game where Dak decided to go, well, not Dak, but the play calling decided to go with a QB draw. Dak slid. They ran out of time. They had no timeouts.
So mad.
How do the Cowboys take a step forward this upcoming season?
Honestly, as a Cowboys fan, I don't really know. I think we had $22 million in cap space. We did nothing with it. We traded our best wide receiver in Amari Cooper.
Yep.
Zeke's still the highest paid guy on the roster. And as a Cowboys fan watching the games, Zeke might not even be the best running back in that backfield. Tony Pollard is... Every time I watch a Cowboys game, Tony Pollard is rushing through the defense every time he comes on the field. But you had $22 million of cap space.
Yeah. And on the defensive side, you even lost Randy Gregory.
Randy Gregory.
A top pass rusher for you guys last season.
You lost. I think we lost Randy Gregory, Cedric Wilson to the Dolphins.
You lost Connor
Williams. We lost Lael Collins, I believe, too.
Collins. You had to cut Lael because they had to pretty much cut Lael Collins because of the contract, the big money contracts that have gone to Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yes.
But you did retain some talent. Even though you traded Amari Cooper, I don't think it's a massive loss because you do have CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
If Michael Gallup's healthy, you have Michael Gallup, and then you guys signed James Washington, who's a solid wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. But Cedric Wilson was a loss because I always felt like he didn't have a lot of great numbers, but he would make a lot of great plays every single time I watched a Cowboys game. But I think Cooper was a much bigger loss than him, but you'll be able to take in that blow because you do have two solid wide receivers still. You also retain tight end Dalton Schultz, which is a massive piece.
We lost Jarwin, I think, too.
Yes, you did. Yeah, Blake Jarwin. You guys did cut Blake Jarwin.
That's a big loss in my humble opinion.
But I don't think he played last year, so I think you guys will be all right. I think Dalton Schultz is kind of overtaking that tight end position. It would have been nice to have two, but, I mean, if you have one good one,
yeah, that's true.
You'll take it. So, I don't know how the Cowboys take a step forward myself either, but I do think that defense will continue to improve. I think if Trayvon Diggs can learn how to cover maybe a little bit better, I think, and that secondary does a better job of stopping teams, I think you guys will take a step. I think Micah Parsons will take a step forward, which will definitely help your defense as a whole.
He takes a step forward. He might be the best player in the league defensively.
Yes. I think he could possibly be. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts because I hear Cowboys fans debate it all the time. Who is the most valuable player on the Cowboys roster on the defensive side of the football? Is it Micah Parsons or is it Trayvon Diggs?
Man, I mean, in Cowboys MySpaces, this is a very hot topic. Trayvon Diggs, he had a career season. I think the first 7 games he had an interception in each game.
Yes.
How many he ended with?
He ended up with 12 or 13 interceptions.
That's crazy.
Which is a ridiculous amount.
And he was just a ball hawk.
But he also gave up the most yards in what I do believe is NFL history.
Yeah. that also is a thing you have to consider. Yeah, I remember you were talking about how defenses in the NFL today are bend, don't break.
Yep.
And so I think that you can account a little bit for that. But
he was giving up. It seemed like for those first couple weeks, he'd make a highlight play interception because he is such a great corner in man coverage.
Mm-hmm.
But for every play he had like that, he also it felt like he got beat on a 40-plus yard touchdown, which is not good for the team.
No. I also, going back to the former question, I think that maybe a step forward is you draft a safety. You will get a safety in free agency, but if we're talking just the players...
Tyrann Mathieu still out there.
Oh. I would not be opposed to taking him.
Still out there. But yeah.
But you look at Trayvon Diggs, he is a great talent. He intercepts the ball well. but he also gives us all those yards. Where you look at Micah Parsons, he's not that guy. He's off the line. He can cover a little bit. Great rusher, great run stopper. And honestly, I think next year he's probably going to be in the running for a Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL. He is that talented. He's everything I think that Isaiah Simmons was hyped up to be coming out of college, where he can play almost every position. He's good off the line. He's good in a little bit of coverage. And I believe that Micah Parsons is by far the most valuable piece in that Cowboys defense.
I agree. Because I think without Micah this year, that Cowboys defense would have been kind of like pretty hit or miss. I don't know if you guys even... Because that Cowboys defense without Micah Parsons really kind of lacks an identity at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think without... Because Micah was able to be like the best middle linebacker on the team while also being maybe the best edge rusher on the team. And he's never really played... Like, he's just played linebacker his whole career. He never really played with his hand down in the dirt like he played for you guys a couple games this season.
I think
he was able to have double-digit sacks this season in his rookie year. I think next year he will throw his name in the hat for Defensive Player of the Year. I think it'll be a few years before he wins it, just out of respect of other players like Aaron Donald, T.J. Watt, that are like super high caliber and are also like loved by the media. But it also helps that Mike is in Dallas.
That's a big market.
Because Dallas, probably the biggest market in the league, also getting pushed by Jerry Jones, who does the TV deals, who makes sure that they're in some primetime games. I'm assuming Dallas is going to have multiple Monday night games this year because of the fact that their play calling guys, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, have now gone to ESPN. So I'm assuming they're going to be on Monday night more heavily than normal. And I'm okay with that because normally if Dallas is playing in primetime, the game is either absolutely bad or it's pretty good. As long as they're not playing the Washington football team or the Giants
or anyone in their division.
Yeah. Like, I'd like to see the Eagles on a Sunday night, but that's, I don't really want to see the Cowboys versus the Washington football team in a primetime slot. But I do think that you will see Micah Parsons win a Defensive Player of the Year award in the coming future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, here is the hottest question that you can ask any Cowboys fan, so I have to ask it.
Oh, man.
Are the Cowboys true contenders this upcoming season?
Man,
Can they win the Super Bowl this year?
That's a difficult question. I believe if you asked me this question last year, I'd say yes. I would argue we had the best wide receiver core in the league. I think we had the best offense in the league with all of our pieces. Our defense was solid with Micah Parsons. I didn't expect what Trayvon Diggs was going to do, but
nobody did. Nobody saw that coming.
So if you asked me this question last year, I would for sure say yes. This question, I think, is up in the air. You'd have to see, again, where Tyrann Mathieu goes.
Yep.
If we can get him, that turns it around a little bit. Who we draft in the draft. We need some O-line. We need some more pieces on the defense, DBs. Quick answer is no. This current roster, no. The Cowboy fan in me is screaming yes, yes, yes. We're always Super Bowl contenders. We're the Dallas Cowboys.
Every year is your year.
Every year is our year. but there's another voice that's also saying, hey, you guys aren't that great. Dak went up the middle. Like, maybe some play calling needs to change. So, quick answer is no. Maybe if you draft the right pieces and you can get Tyrann Mathieu, but the quick answer is no.
I like that you're an honest Cowboys fan. That you're not just lying to me and saying that we are the best team in the NFL because some Cowboys fans are annoying and obnoxious like that.
Yeah, they get a bad rap, but it's not all of us.
Yeah.
It's not all of us.
You're fairly honest, and I do appreciate that. And since you're honest, I'm curious to find out, my last question, what teams in the NFC East come across as a threat to the Dallas Cowboys this upcoming season?
Well, first of all, I'm not scared of the Commanders. New name and all, they're still not a very scary team. They got Carson Wentz.
You know Carson Wentz pretty well.
We know Carson Wentz pretty well, but he is hit and miss. He usually goes, it's either a touchdown or a reception on every play, and he just goes for it.
It's a dangerous game he plays when he lines up at quarterback. It's interesting to watch, but man, is it just a dangerous and very annoying game if you're kind of a fan of the team he's playing for, which I kind of was last year at the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like you saw, he threw an interception like that. That was probably a high point in comedy for the Colts.
Yeah, that was maybe the lowest point of the Colts season, and then the next drive was the highest point of the Colts season because he let him down the field to help put them in overtime versus that same team that he just threw maybe the worst pass of all time against.
Yes. I mean that's Carson Wentz for you. Like, he is talented enough to get you a touchdown on every drive, but he also has a mindset where he can also throw an interception on every drive. So it's always tough to watch. The Giants, I can't think of a player other than Daniel Jones on that team. There's not a whole lot of talent that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's tough. So they have the new head coach from Buffalo. Their new GM is also from Buffalo. So this is probably Daniel Jones' last year.
Ooh.
They have Saquon Barkley on offense. They have Kenny Golladay, a wide receiver. They still have Sterling Shepard, but none of that makes you nervous. They don't really have a whole lot on defense, in my opinion. They have James Bradbury, a great corner, super underrated corner. Does not get the love he deserves, but I can see why the Commanders wouldn't scare you. I can also see why the Giants wouldn't scare you because Daniel Jones is their quarterback.
I mean, if Saquon was healthy, they'd probably scare me a little bit, but he hasn't been healthy for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, and they still don't have an offensive line.
Yes.
So, but the team that made the playoffs last year in your division that didn't win is the Eagles.
That's a team that I would probably be wary of.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts. You have who's a rookie wide receiver? Devontae Smith. They're both excellent. They have a great chemistry together. The Eagles is still a scary team to beat, but I think the Cowboys are just one step above it in terms of talent. But the Eagles are young. They're hungry, and that would be a team to watch for them to beat the Cowboys in the regular season. But I'm probably picking the Cowboys every day. Yeah. Cowboys will win the NFC East this year again. So
yeah, people forget last year head coach Nick Sirianni of the Philadelphia Eagles said that they've planted the seeds. Now they just gotta watch it grow, and that's what the Eagles will be doing this year. They'll be watching the seeds that they planted last year grow. I don't know if it's enough to beat the Cowboys for the NFC East title, but they will watch their seeds grow this upcoming season in Philadelphia.
They're planting the saplings for shade.
He is so funny. Nick Sirianni is the funniest head coach in the league. He says some of the most ridiculous things on a regular basis. His press conferences need to be streamed live on ESPN, NFL Network, and every sports media outlet that there is because
I would tune in.
He's so entertaining to listen to. He
time.
says so much ridiculous stuff. But you guys have Mike McCarthy who can't even manage the clock. So I think it's an interesting, fair trade-off between head coaches in the NFC East. But it's been fun. I really appreciate you coming on here today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. It was a good show. I hope you had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back Wednesday. I'll be having a Bengals fan on. Sports Dude Hines Show. Jordan from the Sports Dude Hines Show will be on. We'll be talking some Bengals, some AFC North football. I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm looking forward to it so much. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace.